Next question, and we've kind of already talked about it, but I just want, just to kind of hone in a little bit more. So what is the state of the church in 2020? Like, what would you say the state of the church is as a result of the
Can I use
year?
just one word I like to say is...
Closed.
Well, that too. my word rhymes with closed. I was going to say exposed.
There we go.
Wow.
I was going to say the church is exposed,
Wow.
and is especially from George Floyd and the civil rights movement that's taking place right now. I will speak first for myself. Like, I had to repent because I had to ask myself and God, like, why has this not pricked my heart the way it does now? Why is it taking until now for this to really prick my heart and to be more than a hashtag and to be more than a tweet or whatever? And so I believe that right now the church is truly, truly exposed. Like, what are we about? Like, who are we? And especially when we talked earlier before this video, other community organizations that they have a voice in the world. And we, like you said, we need to be united to even have a voice,
That's good.
So I really believe, like, right now we are truly exposed.
Wow.
Like, what do we believe in? Who are we? Do we believe in healing? Do we not believe in healing? Are we a part of the community? Are we not? And so right now we have some decisions to make and some answers to respond to.
Yeah. All right, but even when you said that we have to be united, have a voice, I started thinking about some of the other organizations, how they will have like thousands upon thousands of phone calls before they even speak. And I started thinking, like, the churches in our region haven't even spoken to each other.
Wow.
Hey, what are you doing?
Right.
What day are you going back?
Right.
How powerful would it be if the church went back the same way? Like, we haven't, but that's because flesh is involved in ways that it shouldn't be. But it's when you
That's
said
so
that,
true, though.
When you said that, I just started thinking about how. And again, and we're all guilty for it in this circle. But how in the world do you have 70 million different start dates for the church?
Right. I like how you said the voice of the church. Because when you think of other organizations, like Pastor Nelson is saying, like they meet up and then they present the voice. But when it comes to the church, it's kind of like the voice is.
You can go on, because you can go on any one of those organizations you pick. They got the dates of all the marches. They got the dates of this. It's organized. As the capital C church, I think we failed miserably pre-COVID. We failed with the moment we introduced different denominations. So the enemy has worked to separate the church from its foundation here in America, right? And so I just think that's a very powerful moment.
One of the things that it shows, going back to being exposed, it shows that we don't truly care about each other. Because I believe that when you care about someone, you have a conversation with them. And the proof, if you don't have to look any further, is on social media and Facebook. And if you care about someone, you don't comment and tweet at them on social media. You pick up the phone and you call them, say, "Hi, how are you doing? Oh, I don't agree with you on this." And so, but the people, when you care about another person, you take the time, pause, let's have a conversation. And me and my wife, we joke about this, but it's true. I said, how many times have we asked people, like, how are you doing? But you truly don't want to know how they're doing. You want them to just say, "I'm fine." Like, don't give me your life story. Like, how you doing? Oh man, you're gonna tell me how you really doing. And so I think that says a lot about, like, the church, all of us as churches, as leaders, as believers, even, that if we truly cared about each other, then we would reach out and have a conversation and say, "How are you doing?" And that's what I do. I believe the church, we are exposed as a church and as people, followers of Jesus Christ.
And it's probably because the church is more. I know I keep doing these sports now. Probably because we haven't had them. And
It's all right. I love sports now.
Supposed to start next one, so we see.
But I feel like let's just take the NFL. I feel like the church is like the NFL, where it's 32 different organizations, all setting their own goals, all setting their own assignments, get their own rosters, own teams, and competing for the end goal, right? Versus a unified league.
Wow.
We don't have that, and I think, but that's been the age-old plight for the church since the very beginning.
I think Pastor Dorian knows, I talked to him about this numerous of times. I think it's so worried about like the numbers in the church, or like you're like, oh, this church is starting back up. Everyone's gonna go there. We're gonna lose our tithes. It becomes this carnal nature that you step outside of who you are as a son, as a daughter, and what God's called you to do, and what you're walking in, and say like, oh no, like what, you know, I was telling him, I spoke with you guys before, like thinking COVID, like when you asked, like the first week of COVID, I remember telling my wife, like, we about to be in some serious debt. Like I wasn't thinking like, God's gonna bring me through this, everything's gonna be okay. But as churches, and I know this to be true because I've been in multiple churches, like they're worried, like, are we gonna lose our sheep? They're not like, to me, it should be like, are we gonna get the sheep to the water? Are we gonna get them to Jesus? Are we gonna make sure that the people that are out there that don't know what's going on know what's going on and know who to go to and to find that peace? Because I feel like in essence of everything going on, you know, I've been preaching this a while, but Ephesians 6, like this is a spiritual battle that we're in. And if you don't find that peace to know Jesus during this battle, you're not going to make it through. But then we rely on carnal nature when we think of when we start church back up or what the church is going to look like. And what you're saying, I believe is right. The church is exposed. I believe the church is also growing in the fact of like, they have to mature. So God has allowed a grace on the church to say, hey, take a moment, evaluate yourself, like I said, recalibrate. Because when we come back, like he said, if you ain't ready to do what I've called you to do, believe you're going to get left behind.
But for churches to mature, the leader or the pastor.
And I believe we're coming to a point where if leaders are not, and this goes into even, I know you're going to talk about the George Floyd thing, where if we aren't willing to step outside of what we believe our revelation, our understanding is, and give the just the respect to hear the next man. Now, the biggest thing that I believe is like we want to disagree, and when we disagree, it's like sports. When you don't agree or you're battling, you don't want to come together and be like, hey man, way to beat on me out there. You know, it's like, nah, we disagreed, we walk away. And I believe this has been one of the biggest things in the church. To separate us because, oh, you don't believe this, but I believe this, or oh, you don't stand with this. And then you're like, now we just walk away. Rather than being able to stand next to them and be like, hey man, I can respect that that's where you stand. This is where I stand, but we both believe that Jesus is the way. So can we connect on that and bond on that and stop allowing the devil to, I say this to everybody, the devil's supposed to kill, steal, and destroy. The thing that they don't say is distract. And if he can distract, he can do all three of those things. Because when he distracts you from your destiny and the calling on your life, he's going to kill you, he's going to destroy you, and he's going to steal from you. And I feel like in distraction, that's where the stealing comes. He starts stealing the ounces that you have of Jesus in your life, little by little by little. It's kind of like a leech thing. It's like when you focus in on the fact of like you said, Christ-centered. When I center my life in Christ in this time, what would he have me to do? What would he have me to do with the guy who says he loves Jesus, but he's also kind of standing for Trump? Or what would you do if he stands for Biden, but he's, you know, it's like we get in these political battles and these things where we step outside of the nature of Christ because our carnal nature wants to prove a point or stand in a certain place. So I believe the church is growing in the fact of either you're going to get with it or you're going to get rolled over eventually, you know, type of deal. And I believe it's the grace of God. Like God's like, yo, if I haven't, I mean, right now we 4 or 5 months in, I believe there's enough time to understand like maybe it's time to change, maybe it's time to grow, maybe it's time to expand or bring someone in as a leader to say, I met with a pastor and one of the biggest things he said is I'm strong enough to know and admit where I'm weak. And in those areas that I'm at weak, I want to bring people in those areas because I can't do it as well as them. Right. And I know that I can count on them in those areas. It's being able to identify and really be mature and accountable enough to say like, this is where I'm not good at. And I need you. I want to, and like you're saying, one of the things I think is huge during this time, reach out to pastors. Yo, like, what's been the struggle? What's been good? What's been positive? What hasn't been so good? Like, because everyone's different. Everyone's different formats, different people, different congregations, all different types of ways. And I believe like the church needs to grow, and I believe it's forced to grow in this time. So
that's good.
I love that.
There's something that you said, Pastor Dion, that stuck with me. When you were saying that often, you know, we'll ask how somebody's doing. and we're not really genuine in that. But to me, that just speaks to our comfortability with formality, you know, and I feel like in regards to that, then maybe with everything that's going on, it will help prayerfully to shatter, you know, just our comfortability with formalities. A lot of the formalities that we're used to are not even in order anymore. You know, they don't even play a part, and so hopefully that will help lead, you know, to some of that heart change that's you know, necessity for us.
Wow. I love it.
Wow. You guys said so many wonderful things. Were you?
Go ahead. I don't want to get ahead of us.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just think it goes back to relationship. And that you know, I love some of the conversation we had before the video about like where our churches are now and how the people are. But the church, we're made up of relationships. It truly is. And if you talked earlier about the culture, and if the culture of relationship, if it's not intact, like what do you really have? And I believe that right now we have a real opportunity to show those relationships, to exemplify that first with God and then with each other, so that even if we're not meeting on a Sunday, or if there's not a video, the people within the church, the church, are reaching out to each other. To your point, you know, that God shattered those formalities. When we're reaching out saying, hey, you know, I haven't seen Sister so-and-so in so long. How are you doing? How are your kids doing? And that's really, I believe that why the church, we have such a great opportunity here is because of the relationship we have with our Father and being in this family of God. And being in this family of God, it speaks to the world. I mean, Jesus said himself that the world will know me because you love one another. That's how the world will see it. So we have an opportunity to reach not just millennials, not just non-believers, but anyone in this world can look at the church. And if the relationship is there that we have with God and with each other, we have a real opportunity to be the church.
That's good. Yes, wow. Wow.
I don't know why you invited me. You got 3
No. Come on.
These conversations, like, wow, this is rich. And I think the thing that's really like making my heart smile right now is the heart of unity, the recognition that like we need to actually come together and be one. Like even the perspective, like these different perspectives are just so powerful together, especially when it's like, you know, your perspective and it's kind of just robust. It becomes more robust as the pieces, as the arm and the leg come together and the eye and the foot comes together. And so how do I, as a follower of Jesus, as someone who might not have actually met Jesus, even just people, like how can we actually be positioned in this time, even with all of the things that you guys have said, like we're not going back to the old, like the church has been exposed, like it's the light has come upon us, and that we recognize that we're at the beginning of the days of sorrow, and that like darkness will cover the earth and deep darkness the face of the deep, and all of these things that we've discussed. What do we do now?